Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy and this is the Ask Videomail for the week of April 1st, 2013. Welcome to the site to the new members and welcome back to the old. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it. So please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. Thank you for being here. I love my job. This is the dopest job there's got to be in the world. I'm in a good mood, as you can tell. Things are just going swimmingly. Last week, or the week before, sorry, I announced Collabs, my collaborative training program here at Arconics Animation Studios. That is going very well in terms of the setup. I've got a lot of applications. I encourage you to apply. If you're interested at all, I encourage you to apply. We'd like to know if you are out there and you think that this is an exciting idea, if you think this is the way business is going to be done in the future. I just appreciate if you go to collabs.arconics.com and apply. Just if you're interested. And we'd love to get in touch with you and just start talking to you about the whole process. Also, I told you in my video mail last week, I believe it was, about our deal with CG Spectrum. They're a wonderful group of people. They're very, very, very nice, and obviously the training I believe in that they are offering. So check out, you just click on the banners that are all around here for CG Spectrum and check out what they're doing. I think you'll be very pleased with what they have. I specifically wanted to point out their Rent a Mentor program. It is basically what it sounds like. You can get somebody to look at all of your work, to critique your work, and basically be side by side with you. It's kind of like my Shot Coach program, except that their mentorship is for a set period of time, and it's a lot more, basically per week, it's a lot more interaction. But again, it is a fantastic program, and they are some fantastic teachers there waiting for you to engage them. So check out CG Spectrum. I'm happy with them and what they're doing. This week, I don't think there's anything too super special. I'm debating whether I'm going to have a Collabs announcement webcast every single week or every other week. There's only so many, only so many things that I can announce to everybody. So I'm probably going to do one next week, not this week. But thank you for everyone who showed up to the Collabs announcement webcast last Friday. And let's see. Oh, we revamped our newsletter system. So check out the newsletter. I posted on my Facebook and my Twitter as well. But if you aren't signed up for the newsletter, you should be. Not you can be. You should be. Please sign up for the newsletter. I'm going to put the link to sign up to the newsletter on the bottom, very bottom of the right nav panel, or sorry, the left nav panel. So check that out. That should be it for announcements. I think that covers things. This week's question, a little bit technical, but it's a good thing to get out of the way because I think that a lot of animators run into problems like this and they just don't know what to do. So let's take a look. Okay, so the way this question was phrased, leads me to the real question I'm going to answer. Their question was just about their specific scene, but the question I'm going to answer is when I'm having a technical problem with rendering my shot or play blasting my shot, like what things should I look for? And I'm gonna go through this person's scene and I'll show you a few places that I would look if you're having those kinds of technical problems. Okay, much like the how to properly test a rig lecture. If you check that out in the store, you'll like that. Or don't check it out in the store. Not very many people, a few have, but not very many people have taken advantage of the new pay-per-view system. The pay-per-view system is cheaper than the store. So if you just want to brush up on something or you just want to check out a video that you missed, the pay-per-view system is extremely affordable, a way to do that. And every single video is split up. So the Ask Video Mails are sold in a pack of 4 or 5, depending on how many weeks there are in a month, okay? And those are $9.95 for members. Every single Ask Videomail is only $195 for 24 hours of viewing. You could watch it like 1,000 times, maybe not 1,000. You can watch it a lot of times. You can watch it 100 times in 24 hours. Okay, so consider using the pay-per-view system. Anyway, so in the how to properly test a rig, I go into a few of these things, but not all of them. So I'm just going to go into the scene, and you'll see just a few places you should check if you're having technical problems with your scene. So I'm going to jump into this scene, and we'll see what the problem is. Here is a render, and as the animator was pointing out, the pencil that you can see right here and the pad are not rendering for some reason. And so this happens to animators a lot, and what you need to know is a little bit about how Maya actually renders geometry, and a little bit about how this stuff shows up in order for this to work. So the very first thing you need to check and make sure is that the visibility is on. Now this is the visibility on what is called the transform node. It's almost like a group that the shape, basically the geometry, rides around inside. Okay, but since it is parented underneath the transform node, the geometry is going to obey the visibility of the transform node. So if I turn it off, that actually turns it off. Okay, if you go into the attributes and then expand the render stats, and you turn off primary visibility, that pencil will still be there. Okay, because this is a render stat. This is, will it display in the render? Is it visible in render? Okay, so that's different than the transform node's visibility. So that's the first thing that I checked, is primary visibility on, and it is. Next thing I wanted to check was, is there a pencil there, but I just can't see it? So I switched to the alpha channel. And no, there's no pencil. See, there should be a pencil sticking out on the top and bottom here. But then I realized, look, the whole background is black as well. But there's all this geometry back here. So there's something going wrong with the way that Maya is rendering all of this geometry. Sometimes when you import a scene or you reference a scene, you leave behind some of the material information. So I jump into the hypershade and then start looking at these materials. If you don't have a shading group, then that screws up the display of your geometry. A shading group is basically an engine that gives your surface basically its solid material properties. Okay, so it looks like the building, see, building stucco is in the Lambert shading engine. Okay, but I was sure, I was positive that if I selected this pencil, here's the pencil, and then you go up here and this actually expands outwards, that I was going to get the that was going to get an error that it has no shading group. But look, here it is, pencil blend 1 shading group. So I'm really getting stuck now. What is wrong? Why is this not displaying? There are some properties, there are other properties that actually have to do with mental ray. Before I decided that it was actually mental ray that was screwing up, I wanted to see if the software renderer was actually having the same problems. So I click on Maya software, and then I click this button which saves the image so I can scroll back and forth if I want. And I have auto render region turned on. And I'm not sure if you know this, but any selection in Maya, you can hold down the Alt key and you can move that selection around. So I'm just going to render just the pencil region here. Okay, and this is the Maya software renderer. So as you can see, Maya software is actually rendering not only the pencil, but also that background geometry. So there's something, we've narrowed it down to something between the way Maya is working and the objects are displaying, mental ray is working in the way the objects are displaying. So what can we do to try to get to the bottom of this? Well, there's only a few more things that you can try. One of them is to do an optimized scene size. You definitely want to save your scene before you do an optimized scene size, because if you have a crash after you do this and something was screwed up, it might truncate your scene and everything gets messed up. Now after it's optimized, I'm going to switch back to mental ray, and I'm going to just render that region, and we'll see if that worked. Optimized scene size sometimes, no, it didn't work. You see, optimized scene size sometimes gets rid of the nodes that you can't really readily access correctly through your scene, or through like hypershade or the hypergraph or anything like that. So there's only a few more things we can check. it dawned on me that I'm doing all these renders through the same camera. So let me create a new camera, okay? So I'm going to, here it is, perspective 1. And in the outliner, I'm going to take the shot cam and perspective 1, and I'm going to do a point and orient constraint. All right, and so now my perspective 1 is the same camera angle. Let me go back to shot cam, you'll see. See, now I'm on shot cam. I'm on my new perspective, okay? And now I'm just going to really quickly, I'm just going to do a render through this, I'm going to do a new snapshot. That's a way to quickly get to change the current rendered camera to the camera that you want. If you go render and then you choose one of these, then it will you'll actually start the whole render. And right-clicking in a panel and doing a snapshot or region render doesn't always work. So that was a little trick I did. So I just do a quick snapshot of the camera. Now I've switched to the camera that I wanted. All right, so now I'm just going to do that region again, and we'll see if it changed anything. Okay. Now this is very interesting. This blew my mind. Holy crap! Something about how the camera is actually seeing the geometry is connected to the way the geometry is displaying, because we see the background now. Okay, see that we see the background, but no pencil. So this is just getting crazy. Things are just going nuts now. So this is what this is the last ditch effort that we can do, and I hate to admit it, but we do this in production way more often than we probably should. In fact, there is one project that comes back every single year. It's one of our recurring projects, one from one of our very, very good long-standing clients. But because we started this project so many years ago, all of the assets don't like to work together, and we frequently have to do the following just to get the scene files to work. So it's a little bit of the pain in the butt, and it's dangerous to rely on it, but what are you going to do when you can't update the assets? So here's what we do. It's kind of a multi-step process. The first thing we're going to do, hey look, this is turning into a workflow lecture. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually import this entire scene into a new scene. Okay, so this is how it works. You create a new scene, okay, then you go file, import, and select your original file. Okay, here it is, bytecrimepolishpass.ma, and import it. And what you'll notice is that the references still stay the same. Importing a file is the same as basically bringing in every single node one by one. All right, if you go to the reference editor, you'll see, look, check it out. These are all, the references are still loaded, they're still fine, okay? Now, we're going to have to recreate that new perspective camera. That's okay, because I didn't save the other one, but it takes 2 seconds, point and orient, here we are. All right, now we know, where did we get to with this? We know that the background is now rendering correctly, but the pencil and the pad of paper are not, okay? So the next thing we do is we save this as a Maya binary, okay? And why we do this is for this reason. Sometimes Maya binaries actually save the information you're seeing a lot better than a Maya ASCII. Now the Maya ASCII is machine readable, or sorry, it's human readable, so it's just the lines of ASCII code, lines of Mel script that you can just go through and fix problems, but it's not the most advanced file format. And we have some rigs, for instance, that have to be saved as binaries or they don't work. And it takes too long to figure out why they're not working. We just have to save it as a binary. Okay, so we're going to save this new version as a binary, and we're going to call it new version .mybinary while we're testing it. Sometimes, this is very interesting, keep your eye on the pencil and the pad of paper, because sometimes Maya, it'll flash and it'll tweak out the objects that are actually erroring in your scene. I know it sounds weird and it sounds like super lo-fi, and I've never heard anyone mention this before, but sometimes that actually happens. I'm not sure if it's going to work with this one. So I'm gonna write this new version and we'll see. All right, it looks like it's working. I didn't see a flash, but that's okay. All right, so now that we have this new version, I'm just going to open it again. Okay, right? So now here's our new version, okay, and it's the Maya binary version of this scene, okay. And now there's only a few more things to do. Let's just double check and make sure that if we render our perspective shape, our new camera, that everything is working. Okay, that's Maya software. That's not what we wanted. Let's try that again. Okay, rendering it in Mental Ray. We should be seeing the background, the characters, but we're missing the pad of paper and the pencil. Okay, and we're actually missing the textures. These are black because we're missing the textures. I don't have the textures for the scene, so that's why they're black. And the stop sign as well, so don't worry about those. Okay. So we're missing the pencil and the pad of paper, and now this is the next step that can get a little bit tricky, but we'll make sure that we do it right. Okay. So we're going to select the objects that are screwing up. All right. And that is the pad of paper. I gotta get this stupid control here. Here we go. And the pencil. We're gonna duplicate them. We're gonna group them. Okay, and I'm gonna find that group. I'm gonna pull it out of the hierarchy because I don't want anything messing up these objects. You know, basically the hierarchy of these objects, because I'm going to export these now as an object. So I'm gonna grab this group 1. I'm going to save, export selection, rather. Sorry, not save, export selection. And I'm going to call these props.mb. Okay? And now I'm going to delete these, and I'm going to import props. Okay? And now, if I grab my props group, here are my objects, right? Now I'm going to grab this geometry, and I'm going to point and orient constrain it. I'm going to grab this controller, do the same thing, point and orient constrain it. Now they're moving along with the character as he moves them. Let me give myself a little bit more frame range, and as you can see, our new props are there. Now I save them as a Maya binary, which should have worked, okay? And so let's see if it works. Here, let's go back to frame 1. Here we are in frame 1. Here's our old Mental Ray render, and if we render this region, we should see those props show up. And there they are. So here is the final solution. Now, that was an amazing scene, only because it basically it made me pull all my tricks in terms of trying to troubleshoot that render. This may seem like it might not apply to animators very much, but what I'm trying to do with the site now is I'm trying to expand your guys' knowledge outward into a few other of the ancillary and sort of fringe areas of animation that you might run into in a production or in your own shots. While you're animating at home. My hope is that as we start talking about these topics, you will be more well-rounded, you will be able to solve problems as they hit you in production, and you'll just be a better, more hireable artist, of course. So that is my goal here. But as you can see, I guess this did turn into a workflow Ask Videomail. That's very interesting. But the very, very, very first thing I did was I checked out the visibility in the transform node and the primary visibility in the render tabs. There's not very much else that can be changed in the render attributes, especially in the Mental Ray section, unless you have drawing overrides or you have a render proxy, and none of that was showing. Then I'm like, wait, let's just see if the software renderer is working, and the software renderer is, but there's no reason why you have to use a software renderer. You should be able to use whichever one you want. I checked the material properties, as in the shading groups, and nothing was amiss there. They all had shading groups. They all had basically the render engine that shows that flat solid material. That you can add your properties on top of, so there was nothing wrong there. And I started getting a little bit suspicious of the camera because I was doing render after render through this camera. I can't tell you why the camera wasn't working, unfortunately. But if I just did a test through a brand new camera and everything started showing up. Well, not everything, except the pencil and the pad of paper. I decided to save the entire scene after importing the scene into a blank, fresh scene as a Maya binary, exporting just the props as a Maya binary, and then bringing just the props back in, point and orient constraining them to their respective controls, and here we are. So, should be pretty straightforward from here on in. Those are basically all of the things that you can check in order to make it so that your scene, your geometry is rendering. If that didn't work, you would have seen a very different Ask Videomail today. I would have been praising this person for basically finding, creating a scene that under no circumstances wants to be fixed. But we got through it. So I hope you're on board for the new direction of the Ask Videomails. If you want to be a part of it, or if you want your voice to be heard, the best way is to send in your questions for Ask Videomails. Please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. Of course, it's the best way to get the most out of the site. And if you are on a trial right now, a 30-day free trial, you can send in a question too. And how awesome would that be if you get a video while you're on the trial? I hope you stick around. Please tell your friends, and good luck with your animation. As always, rock on.